hear me well? Just give me a second. So again, hi everybody, hello everyone, and welcome to Unicom World DevOps Summit 2020. Now, I know on stage it might sound a bit more different, but we are in a new time. So I believe that most of you practice DevOps and DevSecOps on your regular basis, and today I'm going to explain what DevCovidOps stand for, and especially for us at Attenti. And this is not a date, okay? This is actually the amount of hours and days it took us to deploy our new quarantine management system into production, which is 13 hours for 3 days. And we have several challenges throughout the production installation. But a big challenge started 4 weeks before when we start developing this new quarantine management system, what we call QMS. We'll get back to the 3 days of our production installation later on this talk. So in this session, I will talk about Attenti, what the company does, about how Attenti joined the worldwide effort to fight COVID-19 virus, and the challenges that we had. And most important, how using the right DevOps and security practices help us to deliver a new product to the market in just 2 sprints. I want to start first with a post I saw in Facebook back in March during the COVID-19 lockdown in Spain. Since it wasn't allowed to go outside except for buying food, medical equipment, or if you have a dog, you could go outside. So this woman in Spain posted in Facebook that she rent her dog for outdoor walk. So it's like 1 walk for 1.5 euro and 5 walks for 6 euros. The reason I'm showing you is because COVID-19 put us in a new normal, which sharp our innovative ideas, and you'll see. So I lead various roles during my career, from support roles to integration to architecture and DevOps. I actually started working at Attenti during COVID-19 lockdown. So I actually started, my first day at work was from home. I came from the global telecommunication leader AT&T. I know that AT&T, Attenti may sound similar, but they are completely different companies. And I also have a dog. Her name is July, but I didn't rent her for work. I took it myself. 2 minutes overview about Attenti. So we are a global leader in the field of electronic monitoring. We develop and manufacture different types of solutions for monitoring subjects, such as criminal in home curfew, offender of domestic violence. It's basically electronic handcuff, like you see in the movies. And we were one of the first IoT companies, as the electronic handcuff is like an IoT device. We are in the market for the last 26 years. The company was founded in '94. We have more than 56 registered patents. We're supporting more than 400 different electronic monitoring programs around the world, with around 350 employees, which the main that are located in Israel and in United States in Florida. And we have some across the world as well. And every day, our system across the world are monitoring around 70,000 individuals. So let's back in time to February. As more and more COVID-19 cases increased, we thought how our portfolio of products can help governments across the world to monitor people who need to be in lockdown at home. Now you have to remember that back in February, when you visit a country and you get back home to your home country, you've been asked to stay at home for 2 weeks, and we thought how to help government to monitor those people who need to be in quarantine. While some of our customers approach us and ask, let's put the people an electronic handcuff on the leg, which will make them stay at home. But we thought it's too intrusive, and we wanted to provide a lighter solution based on mobile app application. And lucky us, we had a product in our portfolio for low-risk offender, for illegal immigrants that need to be monitored, and we decided to take it and build a new product out of it for quarantine management system. So what we have to do is 2 things, basically. We had to develop a new mobile application, which when you come back from vacation, or you need to stay at home quarantine, every few hours you have to do biometric check-in, and this application, you can communicate with your doctor if you want, if your fever is up. If you live in a home, the monitoring centers can know about it. And the second thing was to build a new web portal, so that will fit the requirements of the different health organization, provide a secure connection, and give us alerts in time for people who doesn't keep the quarantine. And our customers saw it and were very interesting about this solution. And we got our first production installation planned for beginning of April. Now we're talking about beginning of March, end of February. So what we did, we decided to pause some of our development of our mainstream products for 2 of our Scrum teams, and we knew that we have only 4 weeks to production. Now, customer didn't make us easy, okay? They start asking a lot of questions about this quarantine management system. Since we're talking about location and medical records of our customer, they want to be sure to make sure that we are taking the best security measures in our web application, in our mobile app, that we do encrypt the data of our database in transit and in rest inside the database itself. And each of those customers came with different deployment strategies. Some of them want to deploy it on an on-premise data center using VMware. Some of them wanted to be on Azure. Some of them wanted to be on AWS, on Google Cloud. So we really had to adapt our deployment stack to the different clouds. So the R&D team sat together with the DevOps team, the UI team, UX designer, everybody together, and we look and saw what is missing in our current low-risk offender service. And what we came out that we need to work on 3 major things. We have to work on building a new web application, because our web application was not good for health, or let's call it epidemic quarantine systems. Since our system was more like a SaaS, it was like a cloud-based one system that served many customers, and now each customer wants to have its own instance, because medical information, there is a lot of law around it and privacy around it. So you really have to be in most of the countries be deployed on the country itself. The distribution, a new public Docker registry, which will be private for our customers. I forgot to mention that we're using Kubernetes, but we're going there later in the slides. And since each customer came with different deployment strategy, we have to invest and think how we can do a web application gateway in Azure, in AWS, how we can enable WAF capabilities inside of those services instead of building it our own. Something that helped us during this development is two key decisions we took 2 years ago. One of them was to use open source as much as we can. The reason for using open source as much as we can was eventually to reduce cost and speed of our product. And we know that we are in the electronic monitoring business, right? So we know how to build electronic handcuffs. But we are not in the business of building NoSQL database. So this is why everything that you can use in open source, we wanted to use. And since, like I said, also our customer had the different deployment requirements. Some of them wanted to be deployed on cloud, some on premise. We decided that our product will be cloud agnostic, which means we don't care where you want to deploy it. Our deployment stack, as you're going to see in 2 minutes, know how to handle it. Now, as most of you, I guess, who is using open source knows the challenges that we have with open source in terms of licenses and security restriction, CVEs. So we had to build into our pipelines, in our CI/CD pipeline, quality gates for open source scanning, for vulnerabilities and licenses, and also for our open source infrastructure like Kubernetes, MongoDB, Kafka, and more. We have to make sure that they meet both security and supportability requirements, that you can upgrade those infrastructure, that you can support high availability, that you can support scalability of those products. And we created a checklist for any new tech that we enter in our platform. Being cloud agnostic is a challenge. And in order to do it, we divided our deployment stack into different layers, think like Lego bricks. So our first layer is the infrastructure, right? Using Terraform, we were able to build an automation to deploy and create virtual machines, whether it's in AWS, in Azure, in Google Cloud, on regular VMware ES6 cluster. On top of this, we automate the installation of Kubernetes using Ansible, and we also have some other components part of the system that is being automated by Ansible. Now, we didn't go into using Rancher or OpenShift, since each of our customers has so many different requirements. So we just try to stay native as much as possible. And yes, we are still using kubeadm, believe it or not. On top of this, our stack contains Helm charts for what we call Kubernetes core services. Now, our Kubernetes core services are basically MongoDB, our NoSQL database. We're using Kafka. We're using Elasticsearch and Kibana. We're using Prometheus and Grafana for monitoring, and Nginx Ingress controller. So all those, I'm calling core services, are being installed in this step. Then we build using Python script and orchestration for our microservices deployment. Now, we have several products in our portfolio, but all those products eventually share what we call a core microservices. And using Jenkins, we are able to deploy them automatically. Now, those core microservices are something that each one of our product needs, maybe like a BFF service for backend, for front end, or other microservices that we're using. And then our orchestration knows per our different product to install the relevant microservices. So our main handcuff electronic monitoring system is aware. So some of the microservices that related to this product is being deployed. Then we have what I told you earlier about our low-risk offender or monitoring illegal immigrant using a system that's called HCheck. And what we have to do with QMS is just the new web application and the new microservices that we have to develop are part of the QMS, which is the quarantine management system. So basically, we could use the whole stack. We just have to change several microservices, a very limited number, and use the same deployment stack. And of course, we're also using Jenkins for operation playbooks like backup and restore and some activity of self-healing capabilities and software upgrades. So now that we covered our missing part and technology stack, it's time to adjust our deployment to fit the new quarantine management system product. Now, R&D was actually about to finish building the web application and mobile application, and we had several steps that we had to do before we can do the installation in our customer. The first thing is to do penetration test for our web application and overall deployment. Now, I know it's costly. I know it's cost a lot to have a company coming and doing penetration tests. But when it comes to DevSecOps, I am a true believer in manual testing. I know that that SaaS and DaaS tools can cover some of OSAP top 10 security risks, but I rather to have an hacker trying to break my system than a tool. Now, I know that there is some tools that talking about advanced artifact AI, that they will try to do the same like hacker are doing, but still, manual penetration test was something that we are adapting throughout the whole life cycle of the products, in the beginning and not just end to end. The second thing is that we got requests, there was increase of people who need to stay at home. And we wanted to make sure that our platform can meet to monitor more than 100,000 people. And, this is not easy, okay? Lucky us, we used Kubernetes and Kafka and technologies that are good to scale up. And they can scale up easily, but it wasn't enough. We saw issues on our queue management system and how you enter data information and how much you store it in the queue management. And it was like a crazy week. Everybody just worked like 15 hours a day, running tests and running load tests and fixing load and scalability issues. And we did it. After 1 week, we were able to run more than 100,000 people in our quarantine system. And of course, let's not forget that our customers want to be deployed. Let's say our first customer want the deployment to be in Azure. So we had to learn how to use Azure API gateway, how to assign WAF capabilities, and how to integrate those different rules into a custom WAF rules. And I have to say that today, cloud infrastructure is so flexible and easy to learn. And it didn't take us more than a day or two to just understand how to do it, build it, and use it. So it was a real success. And let's not forget, right? It was March. I think most of the world was already in lockdown, right? The whole company moved to work from home. Now, at Attenti, we didn't work from home before. So it was something new for all of us, okay? And especially, also for a newcomer like me that I didn't knew all the people in the organization, but I think that this is something that without working from home, I don't believe that we could meet this, because eventually, although you have a lot of interference from your kids, people who are flexible in hours and collaborate more and more. So working from home, it works. So we are back. We're now in April 5th, our production deployments. We started Sunday morning and we had issues, right? Our customer built for us the virtual machines. We started installation, and then when we finished, we found out that some of the file system that he provisioned for us were incorrect sizing. So we have to rebuild everything. And we have to work with him to build all those API gateway and WAF capabilities. And for us, this customer was in different time zone in Australia. So it was harder for us as well. And we also find some security issue which we have to fix. But after 3 days, 13 hours a day, where my team was working to deploy it into production, we made it. Okay, so I can't believe that after 2 sprints, a new product was born to the world in an uncertain time. And it was a real demonstration about collaboration and DevOps. And before I'm finished, just 2 things and about our main pillars in DevOps at Attenti and some takeaways. So the main reasons for success, at least from my perspective in a DevOps culture, is first automate everything. You saw the deployment stack, everything was automated over there. So you can easily change every part of it, and you don't need to be afraid to start working and building long documents. So everything we are trying to automate, even if it's for one time. That people say sometimes one time it's not enough, because you never know when it's going to be the second time. DevSecOps, like I told you, when using open source, you really need to make sure that you are using the right licensing, okay, that you don't use any license banned libraries, that you make sure that you don't have like high CVEs on your third-party codes, and of course you have a working CI/CD pipeline. And the last thing is you have to invest in your people, okay? There is so many technologies, and it's very hard to master all of this, but you always have to continue learning. You should think about it like we are in the DevOps world and in the development world. We are not different than doctors, right? We have our day job, but after we finish our works, we need to read documentation. We need to learn new technology. We need to understand what is the new trend in the market and how we can do our work better. And last, some of our takeaways. So 2 sprints, it's a lot of time. So take it as I'm telling you, it's a lot of time. Build flexible deployment stack. It's something which is very important and I think can help you. And what is eventually DevCovidOps? So working COVID-19 and working from home or like in hybrid work, at least in our company, and I see from other companies as well, force us to collaborate more and be much more flexible, which eventually help us to collaborate more with other people in the company, break all the silos. Everybody actually wanted to make sure that they are using the best of their time. So last question for today. COVID-19 had a huge impact on our DevOps transformation journey. And it's proved us once more that we are in the right path. So the question is COVID-19. And thank you.
Thanks, Benny. That was a wonderful session. For those who have missed out on Benny's introduction due to the first few minutes of glitch, I just want to introduce you again. This is Benny Bustan, Director of DevOps Attenti, and his speech on DevCovidOps 2 sprints to production. So Benny, we have one question for you for the QA session, and I'll read it out. It is, can you share your inputs about the orchestration using Python?
Yes, so this is a good question because this orchestration using Python is basically, since we have people in the team, in the DevOps team, that are had some experience with Python. And you know, when you're starting building products, you not always go and search what is the best orchestration tools that are available. And you're starting with a script that eventually become your main script. And this is basically a script that knows how to deploy the microservices to the right nodes and know what is the flow of the installation. I can tell you that we do look now for using much more an open source for orchestration, like Spinnaker.io, or we are also checking other open source orchestration tools. But eventually there is a lot of things that you need to glue together. So this gives us flexibility on doing things that either Jenkins or Ansible weren't like a good fit for us. I hope I answered it.
Thank you for